The ocean is terrifying. Okay, actually, not just the ocean. All water is kind of terrifying, right? Not in the way that rabies makes you physically unable to be around water, more like the swimming in that greenish brownish lake unable to see more than a couple inches down before it all turns dark kind of way. Let alone if something touches my foot, I mean, I'm out. Tell me if you guys feel this way, but swimming in a pool while it's daytime, sun out, people around, it's great. But try swimming in that same pool at night, alone. Kind of an unnerving feeling, right? Like something is just waiting to grab you and pull you under. Maybe I'm insane for feeling this way, but I was overjoyed when I saw the trailer for Night Swim. Finally, someone is making a horror movie about not only my niche fear of water, but the nichier fear of being in a pool after dark. Until I saw the movie. I mean, really? Magical sacrificial spring turned into a pool? Nobody came for that horribly dull explanation.
Some water is magic.
Seriously, they couldn't even be bothered to include a scene where somebody's floating on a raft when suddenly they're sucked down in a V-shape, getting tangled in the plastic, unable to escape? I was waiting literally the whole movie for that to happen. Anyway, we have a lot to talk about involving bodies of water much larger than swimming pools. I knew I had a fear of the water from a young age. I'd still go in it, but if I was in anything other than a swimming pool, you best believe my feet did not stop kicking. It's more of the fear of not being able to see what's beneath me. But that dark, murky water at my grandparents' lake house, I didn't want to go in there as a child, and I still don't. But every year we jump in the water before quickly rushing back to the boat as fast as possible. The thought of something brushing your leg, unable to tell seaweed fibers from human fish hybrid fingers, my imagination would run wild with what horrid abominations were swimming up from the depths, arm outstretched, ready to pull me under the surface. A game that excels in bringing underwater body horror forms to life is Swallow the Sea. With its disturbing blood and bone backdrops and oddly human-looking fish, it definitely captures the uncertain nature of the deep. The environment feels cold, foreign. The creatures may lead you to think it takes place on some alien world, but it's easy for us to forget the unearthly appearance of some of the creatures in our own oceans. Just look at the ortho from the game, and then the real-life goblin shark. Yep, that big ugly bastard is swimming 4,000 feet down, spending most of its life in the dark. At night, it comes closer to the surface to feed, so hopefully you thought against taking a late-night swim in the middle of the ocean. Or what about sea pigs? A type of pink sea cucumber that spends its time playing in the muddy seafloor. Okay, that one's kinda cute. But Sloane's viperfish? Not so much. This guy literally looks like he came from one of those scary stories to tell in the dark books. Luckily, they only grow from 2 to 12 inches in length and live far below the waves in the midnight zone, between 3 and 13,000 feet down. The only light in this part of the ocean is from bioluminescent creatures, who are probably only glowing because they want to eat you. Another little creeper who lives in the midnight and twilight zones is the barrel-eye fish. No, those eyes on its face aren't actually eyes. Those green orbs inside its transparent head are its eyes. Most of the time, they point upwards, looking for food. But they can also rotate to look forward. I kind of hate him. Like, sorry, he looks like he just wants to schmooze, and I am not with it. Coming up to more shallow waters, you may run into the stargazer, another fish with weird head eyes. He lies in the sand and camouflages himself, waiting for prey that he eats whole. Also, he can electrocute his prey, and you if you touch him with 50 volts, on top of his venomous spine. Awesome! He makes being out in the open water suddenly seem like a better idea, in a boat. You know, saying that reminds me of a Survivorman episode from season 1. Les Stroud survives on an inflatable life raft in the middle of the ocean for 4 days, before washing up on an island. This episode always filled me with panic. The helicopter shots of the raft floating alone in the ocean, the panoramic shots from Les showing absolutely nothing in sight save for the horizon line of waves touching sky. It's made infinitely worse by the fact that the raft was leaking from the moment he got in the water. That right there is my worst fear. Middle of the ocean, on a tiny unstable craft with no control, and it's leaking? But I like to torture myself. See, my job requires that I do some crazy things and go to some crazy places with my clients. One night, I watched this episode, feeling the fear of being in the middle of the open ocean. Early that next morning, I was on a boat, in the middle of the open ocean. It was my first time doing that, being far out in the blue. I wasn't as tense as I thought I would be, but still, anytime I looked around and saw nothing but water, something inside me cried out. What you're seeing now is footage I captured that day. It really does make me feel uncomfortable, seeing that blue abyss, cloudy and endless. Watching it back, I anticipate a face or form to arise from the darkness below, even though I know it won't. The swallowing nature of the ocean can just make humans feel helpless. One of the sea's strangest phenomena, known for actually swallowing ships, is the rogue wave. Thought to be myth for centuries, until officially measured in 1995 off the coast of Norway. These waves appear more like massive walls of water. And don't get it confused with a tsunami, as they push under the surface and only begin to emerge once approaching land. Rogue waves, however, form in deep waters, unpredictably. The tallest rogue wave was allegedly sighted in 1933 when the USS Ramapo recorded a 112-foot-high swell while traveling the Pacific Ocean. It's not uncommon for these spontaneous rogues to reach heights of 60 to 80 feet. In 2020, a rogue wave was captured off the coast of British Columbia, Canada, at 58 feet high. It broke the record for proportionate size, as it was 3 times as large as surrounding waves. Imagine that you're on a container ship crossing the Atlantic. You worked hard to get here. You passed the exams, you got your merchant mariner's document. Your girl back home is waiting for you. It's been a long month's journey since departing from the port of Antwerp. The days have been dreary, dragging on for 12-hour shifts with little respite. You pour yourself another black coffee and gaze at the ever-changing seascape outside. A quick flick of your eye to the weather and radar systems seems to show all clear. Being a member of the watch team has its perks, but mostly it's mind-numbing. Especially in the void of night, it's difficult to keep focus for too long. But this is the last trip you'll have to make for a while. You've been saving. Maybe you'll finally ask her to marry you. A crash and the ship's systems have gone red. The coffee cup falls from your hand and splatters to the floor. Your eyes are wide as you see the foamy spray of the sea break over the bow. The water shoots at your observation window with haste. Once the water falls from the glass, you can see the lower deck is completely underwater. In a panic, you scramble to the phone, but another wave pounds the ship again. The nose is buried and you can see her dipping to the left. It'll be moments before the next wave hits and the ship is swallowed. You reach into your jacket pocket and pull out a picture of a girl, unequivocally beautiful. A tear falls from your face as the shipping containers begin to fall from the deck. The European Space Agency reported in 2004 that 200 shipping and supertanker vessels were sunk by rogue waves in the previous 2 decades. There's no denying these near preternatural phenomena are terrifyingly destructive, but also visually spectacular. The wave wall from the water planet in Interstellar always gave me the awe to hang my jaw open and the fear to cover my skin with goosebumps. Even just getting the footage for this video, I got the chills. For an insentient form, water can be oppressive and unforgiving. This scene is equally heartbreaking in the context of the film, and terrifying just due to the sheer magnitude of the waves. It's a really interesting concept, a water world where instead of tremendously deep oceans, it's shallow but constantly ravaged by superwaves. I don't know which is better. Speaking of oppressive moods and terrifying size, the environments of the game Inside come to mind. For most of the game, you control a boy, pushing forward through various dystopian environments. But I remember my butt puckering the first time I descended into the depths of the megalithic underwater infrastructure. At first, you're given a submersible craft, small but easy to control. I love how you go from the small size of your character to the slightly larger vehicle, but then instantly any feeling of safety is washed away as the camera zooms out and you see just how large the environment really is. It almost makes my chest feel tight. The heavy gray colors and eerie ambience really lend themselves to the fact that you're hundreds of feet below the surface, navigating dark industrial entanglements of metal and wood. It only gets worse as you progress, and soon have to leave the comfort of your sub to clear the way by hand. There's something so threatening about the boy's tiny figure swimming along the surface of a dark water that runs hundreds of feet beneath him. The game really lulls you in, as at first you expect to encounter something, but for the longest while you're left alone to complete the puzzles and move along. Just when you think you're in the clear, a shadowy form jerks in the corner of the screen and quickly swims away. You're not alone after all. From this point on, the water is a dangerous place to be, with these mermaid-like creatures stalking your every move. Swimming too slowly will result in being pulled down and drowned by the creatures. But you're not safe inside the sub either. If you're not careful to keep them in the light, the mermaids will latch onto your craft and smash through the window, once again drowning you in the process. Inside perfectly weaves my thalassophobia and megalophobia together. Something about gigantic forgotten structures, coupled with being deep underwater, is just terrifying. Honestly, that was the only part about 47 meters down that bothered me. People always talk about how it's a great thalassophobia movie, but it just feels like it's too fake for me to enjoy it. I liked the part near the beginning when they first enter the chamber with all those statues, cause hell no, I wouldn't want to see that while diving. Fun fact, I am scuba certified and I have gone down into cold yucky water and swam through a sunken plane, but anyway, the shark gimmick got old after the first couple of deaths. And also, why are there so many white girls in Mexico? I find the terror of the deep in almost any media that features water. It's usually the things where water isn't meant to be a source of fear. Like I mentioned in my caves video, swimming in the vast oceans of Assassin's Creed or Minecraft really makes me feel off-put. Of course, Subnautica really gets to me, but that's been talked about to death and I'm assuming you all know about it already, so. Fear of the water is only natural. It's one of nature's largest and most unpredictable forces. We can control water, but only to an extent, and its power is ferociously unmatched. But I don't think it's unnatural to fear what lurks within the depths either. If so many of us feel uncomfortable straying too far from the water's edge, there has to be a reason. Perhaps too few of us heed our internal warnings about the dangers of the deep. Have a look at this sign, found at Percy Priest Lake in Tennessee. 171 people have drowned in this 42-mile-long lake. The worst part? If you Google it, you can see news reports from, at the time of recording, as recent as 2 weeks ago. There, in fact, used to be a town called Jefferson that stood where the lake is now, before it was razed and flooded in the late 1960s. That's a little disturbing to me. Underwater structures are always a source of worry, even if the town was supposedly destroyed. I wonder if maybe that could be a contributing factor to the number of deaths here? Perhaps vengeful spirits continue to show their presence in anger. Nah, probably just drunk people partying too hard. Ghosts aren't real, right? Right? I first saw the sign for this lake when looking for stories to include in a 4chan video, and I knew I had to mention it. Similarly, in Queensland, Australia, lies the Devil's Pool, a small body of water with a raging current that's claimed the lives of 21 people. Though this dangerous area also comes with an ancient tale. The story goes that a young indigenous woman named Ulana was set to marry a tribe elder before she fell for a young warrior named Daiga. He was from another tribe, and in an effort to keep their love a secret, they ran away together. It wasn't long before they were captured and separated. Ulana escaped, and instead of continuing her life without her lover, she took it instead. She threw herself into the pool, and it's said her tortured wails caused the calm water to become as violent as it is today. Some say that her spirit lures unsuspecting men in before pulling them down to their deaths. The first 16 reported fatalities in the pool were all young men. Now it seems the waters claim both men and women alike. Being pulled under the surface is a terrifying fate, spirit or not. It reminds me of that episode of Are You Scared of the Dark? Tale of the Dead Man's Float. Those shots of something creeping up on people under the water still gives me the heebies, especially that one where the girls pull themselves out of the pool just in time. It's so weird to see it from that perspective because anytime I pull myself out of the pool, I'm imagining something rushing towards me to pull me back in. I rip myself out of the water with force. The pool was haunted with the spirit of some long-forgotten corpse. We get to see him in all of his 90s glory, too. To be fair, for a kids show, it is kinda brutal. The dead man gets his kicks by drowning kids, in the once-forgotten pool left abandoned in the back of a high school. Imagine one day you accidentally discovered a secret pool in your school. I don't think I'd have been as excited as this kid. So, whether it's horrifying ocean creatures to swimming in my grandparents' lake or testing how deep underwater I can go in literally every video game ever, I find water terrifying. Just something about seeing your feet and then nothing. Something about how deeply connected water is to us. It's almost mystical in a way, but we don't ever stop to think about it because it's just water, bro. I drink it every day. But I do think it's special that almost anyone put into a large, empty body of water would probably feel fear. I couldn't say that about caves. I can't say that about most places. But something inside of us just knows that water has the power to make us truly insignificant, like a drop in the ocean. Thanks for watching.